what do you do here, Olivia?
Well, I'm a student, and I play basketball here. That's really what brought me to the school. And I switched majors to youth ministry last year. So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing. And I'm almost done. I'm a senior, so praise God.
So what inspired the change to youth ministry from what were you before?
Well, I would be sitting in my psych classes, and no offense to psych majors, because you guys are awesome and we need you. But I'm just like, man, I can't see myself like doing therapy with people. I feel like I would take it all in upon myself and just go home and like cry and be so emotional about the problems. And it's the truth, like I couldn't do it, but I admire you guys who can. So I switched to youth ministry just because I really enjoy working with kids, and what I want to do is I want to have a ranch where kids can come and ride horses. I can teach them how to ride, and then also where they can meet Jesus and take steps in their faith. So that's what inspired me to do that.
Being a youth major is always good.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah. So then, just a couple of basketball questions. How many threes can you make in a minute?
In a minute. 10?
Hold her accountable for this.
Okay, so we have this thing on our team where if you can be a green light shooter, you have to make 20 threes in 2 minutes. And so we all tested that. So I can make 20 in 2 minutes, so I guess 10
10? That's better than my 1.5. 1.5. So then, that's awesome. How do you, like, what's the secret to getting good?
Practice. I mean, just with anything, like, we put our whole lives into this sport. It takes a sacrifice, really, because you're sacrificing your time from school, from your friends, from your family, and you're just putting your whole heart into a sport. And it can be really challenging at times, but also it's really rewarding because you're working towards something and that goal. And so.
Team, yeah? Agree? So Olivia, tell us about kind of just your story growing up. Like what happened before Jessup?
Okay, before Jessup. So I grew up in Placerville. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. It's really small, about 8,000 people, I think. And I grew up in a Christian home. My whole life I was blessed to have parents who loved the Lord and taught me right from wrong. And I'm the youngest of 4, so my siblings all pick on me, which they love to do. Yeah, and life before coming to Jessup, it was good. I mean, I enjoyed my childhood. I was homeschooled until high school, so.
You know what the biggest compliment that a homeschooler can get?
Not socially awkward.
You were homeschooled?
Oh,
if you guys get that question, you were homeschooled, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, but yeah, so I actually enjoyed it because I was with my best friends homeschooled, and I could go play basketball all day long and ride my horse, and it was just the best, and we traveled all over with our school, so that was fun.
Were you one of the type that grew up in the church?
Yes, very much so. We went to church as a family every Sunday. My dad never liked being late, so he'd sit out in our driveway and honk at us so we'd get in the car to be on time to church. So yeah, and it wasn't, like, as a kid, my parents let me choose if I wanted to go to Sunday school or go to big church with them, and most of the time I just felt comfortable being with them. Yeah, so I did grow up in the church.
So, what was it like being a little tyke and going to like children's church? What was it like going to church when you were just young? And
It was For me, I went to a bigger church, so it was kind of intimidating going to like the Sunday school. One, because I like hate that kind of attention, but it was fun at the same time because you got to learn all the Bible stories and sing the songs, and I don't know, so it was fun. Play games.
Little church kid things. So, Olivia, what was it like? What inspired basketball? Why basketball? Why Jessup? What's that story?
Why basketball? Well, being the youngest, my siblings, like, my older sister is a stud soccer player, and then my oldest brother is just an incredible basketball player. And so I think I just wanted to be like them, because I played other sports too, but that gave me an opportunity to spend time with my brother, and he taught me pretty much everything that I know and trained me and stuff. And so I just wanted to hang out with them, and that's what inspired it, I think. And then my parents told me at a young age, like, that they couldn't afford college, so I, of course, wouldn't want to put that on them anyway. So I worked really hard with basketball, and I worked really hard in school, so I could go to a school where that wouldn't be a problem. And so that's it.
So Olivia, it would be safe to say that being an athlete here throughout your experience, 4 years, wasn't an easy one. Throughout your experience here, because I kind of heard that there was a time where you didn't do basketball. So what was going on in a time like that?
So coming here, the old coach, he's not our coach anymore. We have 2 new coaches this year, but he recruited me since I was like in 8th grade. Like, this guy, he wanted me to come to Jessup so badly, and you guys all know he is persistent. So yeah, and he told me one time, he's like, I would swim through a pool of alligators to get you on the team. I was like, what? Who would do that?
That's creative.
It was creative. I was like, okay, you really want me? So he recruited, really wanted me to come to the school, and I'm the type of player who, like, I love basketball, but I love a lot of other things too. So like, if I was gonna, this sounds bad, but if I was gonna like sit the bench, I didn't really want to play. Anyway, so bad. So I knew this guy, like, I knew he wanted me to play for him, is all I'm trying to say. And so yeah, anyway, I got here, and those promises that he had made just didn't really happen. They kind of fell through, and he was a really, really interesting coach. He was really difficult. I was kind of the scapegoat for the team. Like, he would yell at me for somebody else's problems. He'd yell at me for my own too, but I never knew if I was doing the right thing. He just confused me, like, and I would try so hard to please him. Like, that's all I wanted to do, and I never felt like I did. And so 3 years of that, just like constant not knowing if you're pleasing someone, especially a coach, because like that's the person who should be telling you if you're doing right or wrong. It was just really draining. And I found myself just hating basketball, which is something that I loved to do, like something that I found so much identity in. I just found myself hating it. I hated him, hated basketball, I hated myself, I just hated being here. And that was a really difficult time because I didn't expect it. One thing, actually, that my mom would always tell me, she would always say, don't ever let one man's opinion dictate who you are. And I think, for me, like, I did. I let that one person dictate my whole entire character, my whole entire being. I was so confident before, but that was completely stripped away from me. And so, I let that happen for 3 years, and then I finally like told my parents and told different people like this is what's going on, and I just can't do it anymore. Like I'll do whatever to pay for school, like, or I won't even go.
What was going through your head throughout this point in your life? Like, what were you thinking?
Honestly, like I was just upset. Like I found myself really depressed, and making bad decisions too. I started hanging out with people who just weren't the best influences. Found myself like drinking, and which I don't know. I was searching for something. Like I was searching for happiness, trying to get away from my current situation. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
So you said you were searching for your happiness, and I think a lot of us are kind of in that same boat. We're all kind of on this pursuit of trying to find happiness and trying to find joy. And I'm curious, like, what was that for you? What turned around?
Okay. It turned around when I had like the power to step away from the team for a little while. I told my coach like how it affected me, and I just couldn't do it any longer. And so I took myself out of it. And what I found joy in came later, because I realized that in that time, like my relationship with Christ really was shaken. It wasn't much of anything. It was this face that I put on. But I didn't necessarily believe fully.
A face that you put on? Explain that a little more.
Well, I mean, I think it's easy, like being raised in the church, it's easy to put on a face because these are things that I've grown up with, these are things that I know and learned about, but it really wasn't there. Like it wasn't in my heart, it was more of a head knowledge. And so it was easy to put on a face to other people because I knew like the Christian things to say. Yeah.
So you stopped doing basketball for a time, kind of going through this rough patch, kind of a low point. What made you want to do basketball again?
Made me want to do basketball again. Last year, when I decided to quit, I realized that I took myself out of it and I left people, and I left my friends too, just because I was unhealthy and I couldn't take it any longer. And so one of my friends during that time had tried to commit suicide, and not that like I have any power over that, but I just felt like she just wanted somebody. She didn't feel like she had anybody in her life, and so that loneliness, like, so I felt like I could be that for somebody. Like I could be a friend to someone, and that they wouldn't have to make that decision. So what brought me back was the team. Like it took a lot of forgiveness, and because I was very broken. But it took a lot of forgiveness, being able to forgive my coach, being able to forgive myself, to be able to come back. But the reason I'm playing today is not because of basketball. It's just a game, and it's fun. I love it. But it's because I believe God has me on this team for a reason. I believe that He has brought me back to this team to let these girls know that they're not alone, and that they're loved, and yeah.
So you found happiness through helping another person.
Yeah, I think so.
It seems like most of the time it just looks like when we're selfless, that brings joy in some sense. Like when you help people. So would you, Olivia, consider basketball, because you mentioned you play for God, and it's just a game, would you consider that being on the team and playing basketball, is that a ministry of yours?
I would consider it now. It hasn't always been. I used to try so hard to play for God, but really it's just like, oh, I love this game, and like when I'm shooting threes and stuff. And, like it was a lot about me before, I'm not gonna lie. But I think going through everything that I've been through with the past coach and being here for 3 years, I used to play for myself, and now I'm playing for God. And it's definitely a ministry. Like there's it's just an outlet, it's just a tool in which you can use to glorify God.
So Olivia was hanging out with the prayer team and I before chapel, and last week, if you guys were here, we kind of did a response. We had paper out, and it was kind of like, write down a prayer, write down like requests, what is burdening you, and nail it to the cross. That cross is in the prayer chapel right now. If you would like to pray for just the hurt on this campus, I encourage you to go over there. But what we notice is that there's so much depression, there's so much brokenness, there's lots of anxiety, and it seems like a lot of us are kind of in that low point, kind of, putting up a front, putting up a face. Olivia, being a senior and having been through that, what is like a nugget of wisdom? What's a piece of advice that you can give for someone who's going through that right now?
Piece of advice. I understand you. Like, I was telling Roenz, and I wasn't sure if I was going to share this or not, but I myself struggle with anxiety and depression, and not a lot of people know that, because I do put on that face, because it's easy to put on a happy face for everybody else, but then feel so differently. A piece of advice would just find what is causing it. Like for me, when I get really stressed out is when it triggers. So if you can like locate the trigger of it, and then just being able to manage that. But also, I encourage you to share it with a friend that you really, really trust, because that can be very helpful. Somebody that you look up to that you know will give you wisdom, and just try to be open with people. Like, try to break down those walls and not put up faces for people, because I don't know, it would be so much better if we didn't have to do that. But yeah, for me, one thing that encourages me, and this may sound cliche, like I was telling Roenz, but one thing I remember is when I'm anxious and it's hard to breathe and I'm like stressing out, I try to remember that God is still good despite my current circumstances. Despite what I'm feeling, He is still good. His promises are still the same, and His character doesn't change even though I'm feeling a certain way. And so if you can understand that truth, it's really helpful, I think. But, and also, do what you love. Like, if you're depressed and you're feeling sad, like, find what you love and do that, because you'll feel so much better. Because I know when I'm not doing what I love, like if I'm not riding my horse, or if I'm not playing sports, or being with the people that I love to be with, or my family, I just don't feel good. So just do what you love and do it well.
I would totally agree with that. And so, is there any, if I were to just ask you this, and this is totally random, there's one thing that you like to tell everyone, if there's one thing that you want to share, something that's on your heart, what is it?
You know, I was thinking about this. It's funny you asked this. The other day in chapel, I was sitting. I was so nervous, you guys. Like, I hate being in front of people is like one of my biggest fears. I hate being the center of attention. So I was just like, man, what?
Everyone look at Olivia.
Like, what am I going to say to these people? But I have a verse for you. And I'll tell you what it means for me, and then you can decide what it means for you. But it's from Ephesians 5:14. It says, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." So for me, when I was at my lowest point, like, I wasn't dead, I was just sleeping. And so I think it took being able to come back to the team to just, for God to wake me up. And then in that time, my relationship with Christ became real. So I think if you're confused or this whole Christian thing is, I don't know, something that you're wondering about, go to those people, go to your professors, go to people you really look up to and ask them about it, and see what they have to say for it. But, I don't know, wake up, I guess. I don't know.
Do you have any challenge or invitation for all of us here?
Okay, just be you this week. Like, don't, like we talked about putting on a face, don't do that. Just be who you are and be comfortable with it, because you're beautiful, like just the way you are, you know?
Bruno Mars?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He said it right.
One of the coolest things is that earlier today, Olivia and I were having a conversation, and she was just like, "You know, it's so weird. You want to tell that? Freshman you."
Okay, freshman me, coming here, just didn't know what to think. Like, I grew up in a Christian home. I thought I knew a lot about Jesus and all the Bible stories, but coming here, like, you guys know everything. And you guys are all Bible majors, you're all so smart, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I know nothing. So I was, I know. They're great. That's why I brought them. No, so I was sitting in chapel, and I was looking up to the speaker, and I was just like, man. And I felt God tell me, like, that's gonna be you one day. And I was just like, oh no, like, what? And, I think it took him 4 years to prepare my heart for this. And so my prayer tonight was I just want the Holy Spirit to speak through me, so you guys get something out of it. I don't want it to be of me at all. But that was freshman me, and here I am.
I just thought that was so cool, because it was one of those, you get to see God work, you get to see God move. And it's one of those, who would have known? 4 years. 4 years, and you're here, giving your story. And so I really like that, because, and I think you would agree with me, the unity between non-athletes and athletes needs to be increased, and it needs to be encouraged. So many times I hear around campus, there's so much division between those who don't play a sport and those who do. And I get it, because you're a team and you're with each other all the time, that it's very easy to get, kind of cliquey and stuff like that. And then we have, I'm just gonna throw out the music kids, because the music kids are awesome. The music kids they're almost like the opposite of that. They're like, we're cliquey because we do music a lot. And honestly, I see the bridge between those two, and it's pretty wide. It's pretty wide. And so the reason why we do this, and the reason why I love having Olivia here, is because we need to understand that all of us, under one roof, if we were to take titles out of the way, we're all just as messed up. We're all just as broken. We struggle with anxiety. We struggle with depression. We have all of these things that make us think, there's no way I can be like that guy. That girl's a lot better than I am. There's no way. But we got to realize, hey, we're all broken. We're all in need of the same God. And we just need grace. So I want to encourage you guys, and Olivia talked to me about this before chapel, and she's totally open. If you want to talk to her after, feel free. If you have a story that you want to share to her, if you want to ask her something about, hey, I'm kind of in this jam, how do I get out of it? Feel free to ask her. And with that, Olivia, thank you. Thanks for speaking tonight. We're going to have more athletes in the weeks to come. But Olivia, can you pray us out?
Dear God, I just thank you so much for tonight. I thank you for everybody that's here tonight. I just pray that you would just touch their hearts, God. That anything that was of me tonight, that they could just forget, but I pray that they would remember what you told them tonight. God, and I just pray that you would break down those walls and barriers that's just preventing them from being who you called them to be. I pray that they could have full confidence to be that. And God, if they're just wondering about this whole Christian thing, I just pray that you would put somebody in their life that they could talk to about it, and make that step, Lord. Because even though this was my testimony, it's your testimony, God, and you're the reason why we're all here, God. So I just thank you again. I thank you for Roenz and him inviting me to do this, God. And I thank you that you are so good. Amen.